Well, greetings. We are in for a treat. Ladies, if you feel like you'd like a little treat today, the day before Valentine's Day 2025, let's give a little sparkle into the camera. Yay, treat. We give ourselves a little treat, right? Well, we're in for a treat because Susan K. Younger is our speaker today. So we cannot wait. Let's jump right in. And here we are. My goodness, February 13th, 2025. Such an important topic today. And I just want to do a little bit of a lean in because, ladies, we are going to have access to something that is brand new and exciting. And you get to be part of the start of something new. And that's all I'm going to say about it because we get to say we were there when Susan K. Younger gave that Women's Coaching and Consulting Council preview. Okay. So how about that? I'm Kathleen Caldwell, founder of C-Suite Network, Women's Coaching and Consulting Council. The joy of my life, the gifts that I get and to give by being part of this council and to bring women together to elevate our thought leadership. And ladies, if you agree with me, put in the chat, the world needs us. We're helpers, we're healers, we're consultants, we're coaches, we're cheerleaders, we're advocates, we're a trusted advisor to our clients and to the world. Put in the chat if you agree with me. Yes, our time is now. So now in the chat, yep, in the chat, yes, in the chat, heart, whatever. Let's get that chat going, okay? So thank you. Hey, quickly, our programs are all about timely topics that make a difference. And as a coach consultant, we know truly you are a change maker. And so last week's program, we're every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern, and we keep it tight, ladies. We're going to be going to 45, 50 minutes. Today may be a little exception. We may go right to the top of the hour, but we keep our programs really, really tight in time because we value you and your time. And so last week we talked about how to be a powerful force, a lighthouse in the world. The world needs your light, ladies. Each of you, your light is so important in how to be a change maker. Then we talked about magnetic attraction, how to pull the right clients that you want to you. And many of you have reported to me through emails and text messages that you just had a client from 2 weeks ago just show up, a new client from the past that said, hey, I'd like to work with you this year. So I think it's working, ladies. We're magnetically pulling opportunities, people, places, and things to us. And of course, our very own Carol Kammerer spoke about LinkedIn leadership leverage and how to use your LinkedIn, but more importantly, and most importantly, how to use your brand to create more opportunities and to be more strategic in the work you're doing. So all of those replays are on our YouTube channel. You're going to find about 175, that's right, 175 videos. Every one of them, honestly, is just on the edge, great thought leadership featuring you, an esteemed faculty member. Okay, so without further ado, I would like to introduce our esteemed faculty member, Susan K. Younger, to our global stage. Susan is a renowned thought leader. She talks about people and important topics of people using their best to get the best and do the best in the world. Susan brings heart to everything that she does. And she is, from my own personal experience, Susan is one of the most count-onable people in the world, ladies. And if you agree, give me a little sparkle, put it in the chat. She is so count-onable. You can depend on Susan, and you can depend on her to be on your team, to be by your side, to be your ally, to be your trusted advisor, and to be the truth teller in your life. And my goodness, the world needs more of that from Susan. So with that, Susan, I'd like to turn our podium over to you. And thank you. And I'll be running your slides because today I get to be your wing woman. And ladies, let's bring the love and the heart to Susan K.
Thank
Younger.
you,
Hit
thank
yourself
you,
up
thank you.
good.
Woohoo.
Yeah, let's say welcome. Woohoo!
I,
Woohoo! Thank
I love
you.
I love being with this group of ladies today. Thank you, thank you. Appreciate that. So many of you know that my word for this year is humanitarianism. And it is not something that I take on lightly. It is truly something that has been uh, part of my life in unusual ways. I'm not somebody who looked at it in the traditional sense, and I didn't realize that until when I chose that word this year. And Kathleen and I were talking about it one day, and we pulled up images of, if you just put in the word humanitarianism and pull up images, there was not an image of anything other than disaster and trauma and things that don't make your heart sing. And it was when I did that that I also was like, I need to go back and look at what is the word humanitarianism defined as. And it really is about currently looking at how do you address things after they have gone to the worst they can be. And that it has not been about how do you bring in empathy and concerning for the world and addressing it from a heart base to help reduce the fact that maybe if we handled things differently amongst ourselves, we might avoid more catastrophes than we create. And when you also think about that in servicing your customers in business and how you deal with things in life around you, it becomes very clear to me that we really needed to redefine humanitarianism. So if you'll go to that first slide, Kathleen, I think we ought to look at what that definition of humanitarianism is. And I would then love to hear your comments, ladies, on what it had meant to you. But here's what Oxford Language says. It's a noun promoting human welfare, a contribution made in the spirit of humanitarianism, but adding that second line of a belief in improving people's lives and reducing suffering, sort of like it is all done after the trauma has already happened, reducing the suffering based on the whole piece that things have not gone right. But I'd love to hear some comments out of the group. When you think of humanitarianism, what comes to mind? Is it large organizations? Is it small acts? What has been your thoughts around it? And I think we can take the slide down and just let the group kind of pitch in. Even remove the spotlight from me and let the whole group be here, because I think I'd love to hear comments. Anybody want to speak? Bridget?
Yeah, yeah, just very quickly. For me comes up behaving in a human way. It's about compassion in whatever we do. And it doesn't matter whether it's an organization or just a person.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Lynn, I see you're off mute.
Yeah, it's just, and for me, forgive me for the political aspect is, but what comes through my mind is USAID, which
Thank you.
has been closed.
Yeah. Thank you, Lynn. Deb?
I see it as being in advance. We need to be, whether it's through our federal government or individual or anything in between, what are we doing to help people before they actually really need it? Because then they're going to get through it better when whatever that is happens.
Thank you, Deb. I think you and I probably had the same feeling about it and didn't realize how askew that is with some others.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you. Carol?
So for me, the pictures that come up are of sacks of grain coming off the truck to feed the hungry. I can't get past that, but I understand what you're trying to communicate with us.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else want to contribute? I'm happy to hear everybody's voice, because the other thing that came up for me in looking at it is, if you look at that first slide again, it says don't confuse it with humanism. And humanism is truly looking at things from a slightly different perspective. And if you'll bring that definition up, Kathleen, I think that's where the humanism is that outlook or system attached to being human rather than divine or supernatural. And it stresses the potential of goodness of a human being uh, and solving human problems. That whole kind of a Renaissance culture, turning away from the scholastic and reviving the Greek and Roman thoughts, which Christina, you're the perfect one to talk about how the philosophy plays into some of this thinking. And amongst the contemporary, that critical of being so centered on the notion of rational, autonomous self and ignoring the integrated and conditional nature of the individual. And and again, this is a definition that doesn't quite ring true to me because it's more about what Deb said in how do we humanly interact with others with respect. And part of that is understanding that we do have spirit, whether you are deep into religion or deep into a spiritual being in a different way. We really need to look at who are we engaging with, how are we doing that, and what in life is around us. So any comments this brings up for anybody? I really love this being an open discussion that we're all a part of in looking at where are we at this point and what arises for us in looking forward in life.
Susan, you and I have discussed how, again, this is not a right or wrong, whatever political or whatever position. However, everything that you and I talked about just seems to me to be, feminine and masculine. We've all got both of it within us, but it seemed really harsh. That old humanism seemed very harsh and really aggressive. And it didn't seem to that there was any space in the before for the feminine, for the caring, for the divine in each of us. And that's was so apparent to me. It just was like, ooh, a little too much. What do you
Yeah.
all think?
Well, I think humanism tends to be more focused inward and on the me, and humanitarianism is more focused outward on the we.
Thank you, Terry. I love that. I love that. Christina.
So I don't know if you get into this, Susan, about like the attributes or the characteristics of a humanitarian. So I don't want to like
Please,
jump forward, but
please. No, I am more than open to you having this contribution in this conversation.
sure.
Today is really about scratching the surface.
Oh, okay.
Feature big pieces. Yes.
Yeah. So so the practice and the tradition that I follow and when it comes to contributing to something larger than myself, is that I have to see myself in the other person. And there's a very rich ancient tradition that when you go out in the world, when you see someone else or you encounter someone else, they are you. And a humanitarian understands that we're all connected and at a very deep level. And so that there is no difference, that there is no other, and that everyone deserves kindness and compassion and grace. So it's a philosophy called non-duality, which means not two. Everything is one. And so I think, someone who is a humanitarian or humanitarianism in general is the idea that or a foundational aspect of it for me is that I'm walking down the street and I see a homeless person and I see myself.
Absolutely.
I see myself in them and them in me, and there is no difference. And that I treat them with the same respect that I would treat myself. So that I wanted to say that.
Love that, Christina. Thank you for sharing that because you bring your philosophy and study in a deep way to this conversation. And that's why I wanted this to be more conversational than lecture. This is not about me saying my way is the way. It is about me opening up the ability for each of us to look at ourselves and around us to see what life really is showcasing for us to be involved with, and how can we make the world a better place by our personal actions. So that's where it came up for me that it's time to redefine and change the definition of humanitarianism, as it seems to be out there about the after effect of caring after the disaster, and how do we lift it forward. So the next slide really kind of asks those questions that we've already started to talk about, in that, is it time to change this? Why does humanitarianism center on care after crisis and disaster instead of love and respect daily? Has the dismantling of the DEI programs created crisis disaster requiring humanitarianism on a smaller scale, one-to-one and one-to-many in life and business? And let's make humanitarianism loving for everyone every day. You know, I think there's, for me, much that comes up in every single one of these questions and statements about how do I define myself today and how do I move forward. Comments from anybody?
Susan, I have, and I think I've shared with this with you, I have done a lot of work with the Lakota tribes throughout the Midwest, and been asked to be in sacred ceremony with their tribe members. And it's such an absolute honor. And one of the basic tenets of the Lakota tribe is we are family. I have
Yeah.
chills when I think about it and experience it. So no matter whether you're part of that tribe or the greater humanitarianism, the humanity tribe, we are family. So that's what we're demonstrating here today through you presenting this. Thank you.
And I think that is what comes up for all of us, in that we look at our life and we look at what has been going on, especially since 2019 and early 2020, when uh, people thought, we were going through something that might last only a few weeks, might last only a few months. And by 2022, 2023, people were like, oh, thank God we're coming out of this. Things will be better. Things aren't better. There's still a lot of loneliness. There's still a lot of discontent with life. There's a lot of feeling that, why are others succeeding when I am not? What am I doing wrong that I am not? And it's that sort of existence in life right now that is happening at all levels of people in business, whether they are the one sweeping the floor, taking out the trash, or whether they are the one who is in the, CEO seat, or all of those in upper management. And we really have people questioning, how are they going to carry forth in the best way for them to have their best life. So to me, it's at a point where we must all lock arms together. And we have to look internally, yes, first internally, to what is it that we need and what is it that we have as gifts to share. And then we have to look externally at, who do we do this with and how do we do this?
I gotta tell you, Susan, I love that part, and I love what Christina said, because I am running into the term compassion fatigue everywhere that I go, and it can look to be such a huge, sort of an earth-shattering proposition to even go, that a lot of people, I think, just back away and give up. And how do we get over that? I think is one of the major questions, and it does take all of us going together for sure. So. But that term really grabs me.
The compassion fatigue. Yeah. And you see it a lot in all sorts of different ways, because you have business leaders with all the things that are happening rapidly with the change in technology and the growth of AI, and the need to make money faster in order to do more and change more, that they are feeling worn out and not knowing what to turn to, not to count on. And we can compare much in history, and that's a lesson we're not even going to go deep into today, because that's a whole day in itself, I mean, that's something we could take a bunch of us and really talk about what has been that is or isn't in this moment. But I think the question today is, where do you stand as a human being And what are your needs? And do you truly understand what those needs are so you even know how to ask for them and look for the help you need? And how do you know what your strengths are that you take for granted that can possibly be the godsend to somebody else, that you take for granted that piece that you're able to contribute in a way that helps to lift somebody up? And when we lock arms together, we become the powerful part of making this happen for all. Terry, jump in, honey.
Well, I think that some of the compassion fatigue and the challenges we're having of being overwhelmed with just the scope of need, with feeling empathetic or feeling that non-duality. And then there's just so much out there. But this group has actually talked about the need of how fast the world moves, the flexibility and agility that we, as both individuals and in our professional lives, have to go with the speed of how the world's happening these days. And so, as you were saying, Susan, I think the definition of humanitarianism has to change because the way we interact with the world has changed. And so if we've got to be flexible and agile in other things, then I think it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense that humanitarianism must become flexible and agile, and equipping people, not just, the old saying of, do you give someone a fish or do you teach them to fish? Do you give them a 50-pound bag of grain, or do you help them become agile and flexible so that they can grow things that work with what the weather is doing in their part of the world?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I agree 100%. I think what I really want today to be able to do for all of us is to take the moment. I know we mentioned at the very beginning, taking a deep breath to pull into ourselves. Where am I at? What do I need? And how do I move forward to do what I can in life to be the best for me so that I can be the best for others? And it truly is a one-to-one and a one-to-many all at the same time. And it is about seeing ourselves in every face we look at and every person we encounter, to truly be able to listen to them, to understand why they may possess a completely different life experience than we have any understanding of, why they may have come to a completely different decision than we have, and why at times we need to hear them out, even when we disagree with them, in order for us to figure out how we all sustain ourselves and live on this planet together. I don't know that it is always about how do we escape here. I think it is frequently about how do we maintain what we can do to survive and thrive when we look at how we come together in a proactive manner of support. Clara, thank you for jumping in, dear.
Okay, so I've been listening, and it brought back a memory many years ago. Might have been like 18 years ago. I went to Cuba, and a couple of years before, they'd given chicken to all the family that were starving. And what did they do? Obviously, they had roast chicken for dinner. When obviously the point was that the chicken laid the eggs and they had omelets every day. So I think that we have to look at it from a perspective, how can we educate the people so that they really know what to do with the help that we want to sort of shove that down their throats because it makes us look good. And also, say one of the things that I really feel strongly about is clean water. Yeah. So you take clean water instead of taking clean water. Why not go to the root cause and find or design a system where they can sort of make holes and I don't know, get spring water where they are. So we're always sort of putting band-aids and patches, and because we want to look good. and we never, seems to me, really solving the deep problems that exist everywhere. You don't have to go to Africa. You can just, like we talked about the homeless person or whatever. It breaks my heart that people sort of look very good going to Africa, but then there's here in Portugal, it happens, people on their 70s or their 80s that are found up by the police dead in their apartment like 10 days after they were dead because they died on their own and nobody did anything. But of course,
Right.
that's not, that doesn't look good. So doing anything about it. So they go and donate something for a child that probably won't need it because nobody teaches them how to use that help. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they don't need it. I'm saying that nobody teaches them how to use the help that we send.
Yeah, it's engaging with them in a way that honors where they are at to help them move themselves forward, not just handing them something with the assumption that they know what to do with it when they receive it. And I think that is a wonderfully valid point, Clara. Thank you. Lynn?
I am having PTSD of one of the things that I find really offensive with all of these mass murders that we've seen, particularly those involving guns, and with the fact that people go together, light a candle, toss a balloon, and then go out to dinner. And one of my questions is, have we ever really had humanitarianism? In other words, have we always done it where it gives us something? So it's a power or a political kind of thing. Are we capable of being good for good's sake? Because I think that's, that
I,
question back there. And I think for
no,
me, it's
yeah.
wonderful.
And I think that to me has always been I haven't been the best at going to galas and big things that are like, woo, let's celebrate this. Because for me, what I have done that I feel is humanitarian is typically smaller activities on a one-to-one basis where I'm happily helping where I can in someone's life that would never be touched by other things. And that to me has been my way of sharing and doing charity that doesn't really count through other things. What charity do you support? Sometimes my charity is another human being or another animal. How many animals have I adopted in my home instead of paying to rescue animals? Those are some of the silly things that to me become the simple things in life that make a huge difference in our personal lives because we take joy in that sharing and getting to know somebody and getting to know how life improves for them as they are able to grow with, as Clara said, the knowledge that we have given them to do the best for their life instead of just handing them something and not understanding that they have no one to help them figure out what to do with what they've been gifted. Deb, you've been patient waiting with your hand up.
Oh, I love all of this. I think this is absolutely fabulous. I think one of the things, and maybe this goes back to the earlier comments about fatigue, is we have to take care of ourselves first. It's kind of the oxygen mask dropping down thing. You put your mask on first before you help somebody else. And I think that's, we're just in this go, 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 go. And then when something big comes up, sometimes all we can do is say a prayer, for whatever it was. I'm from Colorado. I'm from the land of Columbine. And so anytime things come up, I mean, yeah, but we can't keep burning the candles at both ends and then being expected to, or expecting ourselves to be able to help others.
Yes. And I think that's again where it comes back to humanly taking care of ourselves first and understanding what that real requirement is instead of pushing ourselves at times to say, I must go to one more thing. I must participate in one more thing that may not be feeding us mentally, physically,
Mhm.
or spiritually in a way that allows us to heal. And I think the need to step back from some of it is something that is frequently, instead of looking at it being supportive of you caring for yourself, is looked at in judgment of, I don't know why they aren't
Mhm.
showing up.
Right.
And
Sometimes the
truly
best answer is no.
no, no can be a very positive answer as to how do you care for yourself instead of doing something that you can't possibly be as efficient at or capable of achieving the request that they have made of you. But when you can tell them, this is not mine to do at this moment, you are only sharing that the limitation is of the moment. It is not a long-term no, maybe. And it might be that it's helping them to find the right people to do what needs to be done instead of assuming that you, as a consistent giver, are the only one who is capable of doing that. Any other comments, ladies? I love this discussion and I thank you all for
Isn't
being
this
so
great?
participatory. You know, because
Yeah.
it really is about the self-care as much as it is about the care for others. And recognizing what it is, and I think, you know, this being, some call this sometimes the friends Valentine kind of a day, the day before Valentine's Day. It seems appropriate for us to be looking at what do we need to be as individuals, and what do we need to do to care for ourselves, and how do we let others know what that is in a shameless way. It is not awful to say, this is what I need in my life, you know, and ask others to share with you. They may not be the answer, but a lot of times we're one away from them knowing who to introduce us to. And I think Debbie Mrazek is a perfect example of, frequently when she speaks, what does she say? Who is it you want to be introduced to, and how many of others have you told that? Because you may find out they know that person very well, or they know someone who does, that can help you to do this bigger dream. And I think as we look at how do we move forward to do these bigger things in life that we all want to do, a big part of it is understanding, until we have cared for ourselves and supported ourselves in a way that feeds us enough to give, you can't serve from a cup that isn't overflowing. You need to have filled yourself enough to be able to give to others.
Susan, great, great, great discussion, great points. If you're getting something, your heart is being enriched through this conversation. Let's give a little sparkle to Susan. So you want to switch up our body here, move a little bit. Woohoo. Great. Susan, would you like to move to the next slide, dear?
I would love to move to the next slide. Uh,
Thank you.
Here's the thing, ladies. Monday, in a conversation with Kathleen, and it was following up on multiple conversations I'd had with hers and others since announcing in December that humanitarian was my word, was how was I going to decide to move this forward? And all of a sudden on Monday, the word humanitarianism and humanitarian jumped into my brain. And, we had talked about how do we move the feminine energy in. And I said, if we make it all about a woman being a humanitarian, then we are already pissing off those who have already decided women are doing too much and it's outing men as not doing enough. I said, but if we start to make it about humanitarians, everybody is being included. So how do we expand humanitarianism that we all become the light for the world in our own way? We recognize what we have within ourselves that is beautiful to share, but we also recognize in ourselves what we need. And this image of the Milky Way and somebody standing on a point, shining a light to the world, to me just kind of represented what we all feel. The world is expansive, the world is spinning fast around us, and we all kind of feel like we are on an island alone. but yet we want to be a light for others. So I'm asking you all to let me know how you will join me in becoming humanitarians that are humanitarians, and how we can together move this forward. Thank you.
I hope you're doing t-shirts with that. I can visualize all of us going out and with this fabulous t-shirt and people saying, who, what? Yeah. And then we get to explain.
And you know, I am not one for wearing names across my chest, so it will have to be on the back.
Well, okay.
So thank you.
So is
Thank
there a
you.
better person on the planet to start and lead a new humanitarianism movement than Susan K. Younger, right?
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So yes.
I have
So
one question.
Susan, jump in, Bridget, please. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, I would like to know what triggered you to deal and dig into that topic in the first place. I would love to know about your why about this.
My why is about the dining room table, the conversations we have one-to-one, the simple life. I mean, you can go back to the fact that I didn't write a business book to start. I was contributor to Marianne Halpin, that was just in the WeatherTech ad. She's the gal in the pink shirt that flashes the bingo things. Anyway, she's a photographer that in 2008 took a picture of me holding a sword, and it became part of a book that was released in 2010 called Fearless Women, Fearless Wisdom, about many of us who, as business women, have stepped forward to get past fear in some ways. For me, it was always the family discussions, the small conversations around a table with friends. Maybe it was while we were cooking in the kitchen or gardening or on a walk together. Those small conversations are what laid the groundwork for life. They were what laid the groundwork for business. I didn't take business classes in architecture school. What I did have, though, were conversations in the lab with the other guys, because typically I was the only woman in the room. It was conversations in the office when there were 3 architects who were partners and me sitting at a board, all 4 of us drawing, but talking about how to make a project better, how to service what was done for a client. It's those small conversations that move life forward. And instead of looking at everything as having to be this gigantic audience as an influencer, it really is those one-to-one and one to small many that can engage people to move and make things happen in a way that other things never do. You know, Debbie Mrazek sets out food for every guy that delivers food. He's got a basket of stuff. He knows somebody cares about him on his daily route. You know, Terry is always doing things for businesses to make them think about new ways for doing stuff. Carol's individually helping people to do things with their LinkedIn profiles. Bridget, you do branding pieces. Clara is doing great advising for business leaders on how to be better at what they're doing. And Deb taking all of her cancer experience and her marketing experience and, you know, thousands of podcasts, and still being able to look at coaching people through their cancer experience. And then Lynn has done lots and lots. Lynn and Debbie both have done lots of coaching with the Goldman small business stuff, and Lynn in working with assisted living to help make sure that elderly people are cared for in a loving way, and yet also done so in ways around the meticulous laws that need to be honored and obeyed in running those facilities. There's not a woman here in this group who is not doing what I would call humanitarian work in their own way right now.
Mhm.
Kathleen, you lead this group and you do other things, but it is that one-to-one caring for each other that allows us to link together and make the world someplace we can all live. Does that make sense, Bridget?
Yes, I have one more question, if I may so.
Absolutely, darling.
Okay, So there is this DEI initiatives in all these corporations, companies, you name it. Now, is this approach that you're taking something that could substitute that to a certain extent? Because now with the new administration, DEI is under a different light, or I don't know how you say that.
I would
That's
say those letters have been weaponized instead of
yes. So
anything else. And to me, by making it about who are we as individuals, there is no judgment in any direction.
mhm.
You start a conversation. Now, some will say maybe that is, in a way, me subjugating what DEI stands for. However, to me, it is a way for me to stand here and say, I care about who you are as a human being. And for me to get to know you and what your experience is, regardless of how others choose to define you, is how I can move life forward, because I still see you for who you are and everything you are and all of your experience. And let me find out why the experience for you is completely different than anything I have ever imagined.
Mm. Oh, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Susan, as we complete our time, ladies, let's give Susan some acknowledgement, appreciation, perhaps the humanitarian that you see in Susan is fill in the blank or whatever you'd like to share. Let's give Susan some feedback as we complete our time together. Susan, you are a global leader. You are standing in your power, using all of your resources to make a major difference in the world. I acknowledge and love you and appreciate you. Aho.
Thank you.
Who's next? Pass the baton.
I'd like to go next because I appreciate so many things about Susan. And the thing that stands out for me is that she is always there when you think you are going to drown if nobody comes to help. That's where she is. And that to me is the finest of humanitarianism.
Thank you.
Well, I'll jump into here because this dovetails so well, not just with the communication work that you do and relationship architect work that you have been doing, Susan, but I think of the story you tell sometimes about you got a new boss after a series of bosses, and you had been working in a department store, rolling out an entire store, a series of stores, and you went in and Gate told him, here's what had been happening. Here were the alternatives. And it was his choice, obviously, but here's where it had failed. Here was where it was probably going to fail. And he said, I really need to stay the course and let you finish the job you're doing, don't I? And that just is so exemplifies what you bring to the table.
Thank you. Yeah. When you've been through, in 12 years of working with a division, there were 8 CEOs. And yeah, just a few, Deb, just a few. And so as you get accustomed to whether you want to call it VUCA or just the cycle of life that occurs frequently in large corporations when things aren't going well, you recognize you have to state the situation as clearly as possible to give somebody the opportunity to understand they have choices. You understand they are the one in power to make those choices. And sometimes you have to share with them uh, that there are options that may not turn out as happily as they think, based on previous experience you may have had in a situation. You're happy to learn if there is a new way that can get us to that solution. However, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you.
Who else? Jump in. Appreciation, acknowledgement for Susan. Yeah.
Okay, so I have got to know Susan as the most genuine, most caring, most supportive, in real time, being a friend, always here, day and night, 24/7, and I know that. And I'm so proud that I'm in your circle. I couldn't have wished a better friend than you. And you are a pioneer. You are picking up things what the world needs, what we as human people need. And there is only one thing we can do, support you in all your efforts that you're doing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Bridget. I just love you. I actually love every woman on this call today because I feel like it is that circle. You know, sometimes it's people are like, oh, I need more people. And I'm like, no, I only need the right people. And I had said to Kathleen today, the right people will be here. And they are. They are.
Susan, all great ideas need action. So my question is, what's the first step or the next step, and how can we support?
Tomorrow on LinkedIn, I will take that last slide and write a post about it and put that out there for how are you loving the world today? And how will you please step into being a humanitarian with me? And from there, start the conversations because I understand that this is, you know, like I said, this was Monday when I came up with this word. And I had spent some time between November to January looking energetically at some things that many would consider way too woo-woo. But the funny thing is, when I scheduled that call with Kathleen, I looked at the fact that energetically it was a day that was supportive of me being creative. And that came out in a simple way without being forced. Uh, that was so perfect because I can't tell you how many different words I had put in to look at was that word available for a website? Did I lock those two words in and buy that web page? Yes, I did. Have I developed a logo or anything? No, I haven't. Am I going to immediately? No. I'm just going to start using the word and encouraging others to join me so that we can truly build the base to make this movement go forward. And any of you who have seen that video of the first follower and the wild guy dancing on the side of a hill, and it says you need that first follower. And somebody the other day said you don't need the first follower, you need the second and third, the ones that make it a community. Either way, you look at that and you start to realize if that guy can create a movement, so can I. And I think that's where we all are at this point in life. How do we build what we know the world needs? Because I don't care which side of the political thing you are on, you know that whether you are changing it for what you think is good or seeing it as a change that is not, it is still something that is going to require more than just a few days to put into place something that really allows us to live a life that supports us all. And if you read some of the books, and I plan to, Clara, do some things online between now and, you know, there are some events happening late in February and March that I'm part of. I've got friends coming to visit. So I think any big event will be an April event, but I also think we need that amount of time to really build to do any bigger event online. And that it will probably be something in April. A specific date has not been chosen, but I think there does need to be something in that framework. And also Thought Council tomorrow, I will be announcing it there as well. So there's different places to do this. It celebrates tomorrow night too. So, you know, take the groups you're in and do what you can with them. Leverage it where you can. So
Yeah, and I'll put a little plug in that Susan, we're in communication as part of the Women's Success Accelerator to create a business model around this idea and to bring it to the organizations and the associations that are right, but to do this in a holistic, organic kind of way.
yeah.
Because as we know, Susan wants to be invited into things. So yes. So yeah. So any additional
ladies.
acknowledgments of
Thank you, Kathleen.
appreciation before we complete? Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, great.
Well, I just want to say you cannot envision anybody better to be heading this up.
Thank you.
Agree. Well, great. So ladies, thank you, thank you, thank you. I think, Susan, I think we would agree that the assignment is to go find your who and be the who today. We
Let's
can't wait.
hatch
Be the
some
who and
who's.
find our who. Yeah,
We can
very
hatch
good.
some who's, ladies. We can hatch some who's.
We have to
Great.
speak. Woo-hoo.
I know.
That's right. Woohoo!
I found an image of a hand holding a little tiny egg, and I know I'm going to probably be using that next week as hatching a new idea. Start small, let's grow it big.
Awesome.
Or a little flower.
Little, yeah,
Lots of cool things.
a weed cracking through the
Mhm.
concrete, all those sorts of things, so
Well, thank you. Thank
thank
you.
you.
Great.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Susan. We're so appreciative of you. What a great, 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 great interactive conversation. And the replay will be up within 24 hours. And we would love your activation and we would love your reposting on LinkedIn and Facebook. So with that, big kisses, right? Take yourself off mute if you'd like to. And let's say, woohoo! Woohoo! Bye, ladies. See you next
Bye.
Thursday.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm thinking Debbie may have had to step away and is just here, but thank you so much. Really